Happy day, girls. So in today's class, we'll be talking about the merchandise planning process. So we'll get started. First, to talk about the basic meaning or the necessity for us to do merchandise planning. Merchandise planning includes planning and control of basically the merchandise inventory of any retail firm. Merchandise includes any goods which can be bought and sold. So in merchandise planning, we are focusing on controlling the inventory at the right amount so that it is beneficial to both customers and retailers. So here we are trying to balance the expectations of our target customers and also the strategy of the firm, of the retail firm. The reason being, we as a retail firm can easily come up with a lot of objectives and strategies, right? But it should definitely meet with what our target customers ideally want. So here in merchandise planning, we are trying to balance both and come to a common amount or a common inventory stock amount, which is both acceptable both from the retailer side as well as from the customer side. So we'll move on to the process of merchandise planning. You'll be able to understand the concepts a little bit better as we go on. So basically it has 4 steps. We start off by developing the sales forecast, and then we determine the requirements, basic merchandise requirements in terms of inventory, and then we move on to merchandise control, and finally the 4th step being assortment planning. Now we'll look at all of these steps in detail. The first stage is to develop the sales forecast. Now let's, for example, take a supermarket which is established in any part of Chennai. So we want to develop the sales forecast of maybe biscuits in the supermarket. So what do we first do? We first review the past sales. So we figure out how much biscuits has been sold maybe in the past week or in the past month or even in the past quarter, and we get that quantity as a base for us to work on. So that is what happened in the previous time period, right? So now we basically analyze what could have possibly changed. So when we try to analyze the change, first we take economic conditions of the market into consideration. Now this economic conditions definitely has an impact here because it highly economic conditions definitely has a huge role to play in the spending patterns of customers. So we want to know whether our target customers are still willing to spend the amount which they've spent in the past, or maybe they are even ready to spend more. So all of that has to be concluded with taking into consideration the economic conditions in the market. And second is to figure out the sales potential of that particular product. Maybe there is any demographic changes which is there in the market or even in the store which can ultimately affect the sales potential of the product. Even it can be a positive effect or even at a negative effect. So that has to be analyzed next. And the third thing is to analyze the marketing strategies of the retail organization. Maybe the marketing campaign was publicized even more. So the store has to be ready to expect more customers, right? If the marketing campaign was big, if they targeted more customers, then the stock which you are going to store in the store should be increased as well, right? So the marketing campaigns definitely play a big role, and also of the competition. Maybe there is a new store which has been established near your store, near your branch. Maybe customers can be diverted. Few customers will go here and only your loyal customers will come. So maybe there can be some fluctuations in the quantity which is procured by the customers. So all of these changes will be included while calculating the sales forecast. And finally, including all of these factors, we come across and create a particular quantity and conclude that as the sales forecast. So that will be the proceeds of the first stage. So the second stage is to determine the merchandise requirements. So the first stage fully focused on sales. We did not even go into the inventory part yet. So only in the second stage, we are moving on to the actual merchandise inventory. So only here we talk about how much of stock we actually require to satisfy that particular level of sales. And this planning can be done in 2 ways. It can be a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach. As the name suggests, in top-down approach, usually the top management lays down the planning process and gives instructions to the middle level and lower level managers. But in bottom up approach, here an interesting part is that the bottom level managers are the ones who actually have contact with customers, right? So they can also give valuable suggestions which can be included in the planning process. So maybe any one of these approaches can be taken by the retail firm. And in this stage, we create the merchandise budget and also frame the assortment plan. We'll move a little further on that. So while creating the merchandise budget, first we come across the sales plan. We first lay down the sales target, which is necessary department wise, division wise, and also store wise, maybe branch wise for every retail establishment. So once we establish the sales plan, and then we talk about the stock support plan. So as you can see, sales plan is just an improvement from first stage. So whatever sales forecast we got, we basically divided that department wise, division wise, and store wise. And in stock support plan, we now talk about the actual inventory which is required to satisfy that level of sales. And next step is planned reduction, speaks about what if your products did not sell as you expected. How is the retail establishment going to react for that? Just imagine a scenario where you're walking into a supermarket and the old stocks are just piled up there. It's definitely not a good definition, right? So you also need to be prepared when the products you expected to sell did not sell as much. And planned purchase level talks about the quantity which needs to be purchased from the wholesaler or from the manufacturer directly to again support the stock support plan as well as the main sales plan. And finally, gross margin again depends upon department wise, division wise, and store wise. Here we talk about the profit margins and the contributions made by either departments, divisions, and stores. And the next step in the second stage is assortment plan. So in assortment, we basically talk about the different kinds of merchandise which will be sold in each product category. This talks about the complete mix of products which are made available to a consumer. This basically gives an idea about the options that you have. Every time you walk into a retail establishment to buy anything, we always expect more options from which we can choose from, right? So assortment plan is definitely going to support in that. And through merchandise hierarchy, we'll be able to figure out a good assortment plan. By establishing a merchandise hierarchy, we'll be able to frame a good assortment plan. So we'll look into that in detail. So anytime you want to purchase something, what do? We first walk into a supermarket. We first locate a supermarket and walk into it. And then we look into the particular department. Maybe you want to buy some shampoo or some groceries for your house. So first what do? As soon as you enter into the store, you look out for the department and figure out where you will get shampoo. And for that, every retail establishment would have done merchandise classification, where they would have classified their goods into probably fresh groceries, ready to eat items, pickles, and products which come under personal hygiene. So classification based on that. So this is the first level of merchandise hierarchy. Moving on to the next level. So inside ready to eat, you have various options which are available for you, right? So this is what we mean by assortment plan. The options that is available for a customer inside a particular criteria. So inside ready to eat, maybe you have some biscuits or chips or wafers. That is what we conclude as merchandise category. And inside merchandise category, we have something called the merchandise subcategory. That is, even under chips and wafers, we expect a lot of brands, a lot of flavors from which we can basically choose from, right? Choose from based upon our needs, based upon our preferences. So that is what merchandise subcategory is all about. And finally, even for example, we concluded that we need some strawberry wafers. So even inside strawberry wafers, I look for maybe a 100-gram packet or a 200-gram packet, depending upon my need. Maybe I want to just purchase for myself. Maybe I want to purchase for my family. So depending upon my need, I'll probably choose the pack size, maybe even the price point. I want various types of products which can probably satisfy different levels of customers. Final level is the stock keeping unit. This is the actual unit basically having a complete breakup of the purchase quantity from which the customer can choose the product. So The next stage, the third stage, is merchandise control using the concept of the open to buy. So in open to buy concept, we are keeping the entire merchandise planning process flexible enough to accommodate the changes in sales and reduction levels. So here we are trying to relate the inventory level with the sales, so that if there is increase in sales, the inventory can be adjusted accordingly, and even if there is any decrease, the inventory levels can be accommodated as such too. So this ensures that the buyer need not walk away from the store wanting something and not getting it. Basically, we are trying to control the underbuying concept as well, and it also prevents loss of sale due to unavailability of the required stock. And we also try to maintain purchases within the budgeted limit, which is actually framed as part of this entire planning process. We also plan to reduce all the markdowns which probably can arise due to excessive buying. So we want to maintain the stock at the optimum level, which is both supportive to, which is both restrictive to underbuying as well as overbuying. So that kind of ideal level is the ultimate aim of the both open to buy concept as well as this entire merchandise planning. And in stage 4, we talk about assortment planning. So the quantities of each product that will be purchased to fit into the overall merchandise plan. That is, I walk into a store, let's imagine you are walking into Max and you want to probably buy a kurti. So for every design, in each design you will expect all the sizes, right? From XS, S, M, L, XL, double XL, or that you want that to be constant for all the designs inside the store and across all locations of Max. That is the kind of assortment planning which we are doing in stage 4. Whether it is color, based on size, based on brand, based on the material that you have. Every time you get a sari, the first question which comes out of our mouth is whether we can get another color in the same design, right? That is the kind of assortment expectations we have as a customer. So in stage 4, we are trying to make sure we are giving as many options as possible to the customer to make sure they don't leave the retail store without purchasing the product. And we are planning to create a balanced assortment of merchandise to the customer. And here, through optimal merchandise mix, we'll be able to make sure that every level of target customer is walking away happily as soon as they leave the store. That is fixed depending upon the money available to the store. Maybe you want to have every design needs to have every sizes, that may be your plan, but do you have the fund which is necessary for you to do that? That is the question which will come when you want to implement the optimal merchandise mix that you have created. And the targets set for turnover, even if your turnover is a little less, if you're going to stock all the stores with so many designs and sizes, then that means that you're not fitting the objective and the end goal correctly, right? So this assortment planning should also focus on the overall objective set by the firm and also space for stocking, the actual space in which the retail establishment is laid on. That should support your assortment plan and your merchandise mix as well. So even if you come ahead all of that, there's always going to be a couple of constraints in the market which is not going to probably support you. So you need to take into consideration on how the competitor is doing, how other players in the market are actually following this assortment planning, so it will be easy for you to establish your own. So these are the 4 stages of merchandise planning. Thank you, girls.